For 10 years, I supported Justinian all the way to his Ph.D. I watched him rise from a small-town academic striver to a tech tycoon, only for him to ask me for a divorce. After a car accident left me hovering in the air for 6 months, I saw the ugliness of the world clearly. My grandmother, who had forced me to drop out of school, claimed the $500,000 insurance payout, and Justinian, with whom I had nothing in common, married his pregnant student wife within a month. When I woke up, I found myself transported back to my second year of high school, the very day that changed my life, the day I dropped out. Outside the office, Justinian was still waiting to comfort me. Wang Yanan, I'll help you get into Nanjing University. Get lost, I'm going to get into Tsinghua myself. I shot him a glare and pushed open the office door. Teacher, I'm not dropping out. Grade Director Zhong adjusted his glasses. Wang Yanan, then have your parents pay the outstanding tuition fee of 8,904, 9 yuan as soon as possible. I'm here. Grandma barged in carrying a woven plastic bag. Teacher, don't listen to this child's nonsense. We're leaving right now. As she spoke, she started stuffing my books into the bag, muttering about how much scrap they could sell for. Grandma, put my books down. I'm not dropping out. If you don't come home, I can't afford to support you. Grandma glared at me. If they hadn't promised to cover your tuition, I wouldn't have even let you attend this proper high school. Director Zhong was displeased. Wang Yanan's guardian, when we admitted her after the high school entrance exam, waiving her tuition was conditional. We saw her potential to get into a top-tier university. Now that she's dropped from first place to 500th, the school can't support a useless student. Useless or not, let's go. Going home is what's useful. The useful grandma meant was me delivering milk in the morning, doing housework during the day, and working at a convenience store at night, with all the money going to that fake brother Wang Lianjie for his games. I'm not leaving. Director Zhong, I'll study hard. Please give me another chance. I shook off Grandma's hand. Given a second chance, I would never give up on learning again. Grandma grabbed my ear and started yelling, "You wretched girl, what's there to study? Your dad just died, and we have no income. How will your brother go to school? You're just like your dead mother. Such bad luck. Wang Lianjie isn't even my dad's son. He's adopted." I couldn't hold back and shouted, for the sake of some vague family line, "You'd sacrifice your own granddaughter's education." Seeing my sudden outburst, usually so obedient, Grandma was stunned for a moment. Then, trembling, she pressed her hand to her chest and theatrically collapsed to the floor. "You wretched girl, you're going to be the death of me. I don't want to live anymore." Teachers gathered at the commotion, but Justinian was nowhere to be seen. I countered her move by kneeling directly in front of Grandma, rolling up my uniform sleeve to reveal arms covered in red marks. "Grandma, I'm your own granddaughter. I'm not even an adult, and you're forcing me to drop out and marry for a bride price. That 40-year-old Jew Daming can't even feed himself." I refused. "And you hit me. How could you do this?" The surrounding teachers and students began to question her. Seizing the moment, I crawled forward on my knees, crying hysterically, "Grandma, I beg you, I'll get into a good university and earn money for the family." These were the same tactics she had used in my previous life to force me into marriage. Back then, I injured Jew Daming, stole my ID, and fled overnight. I slept on the streets, scavenged for food, and survived on stale buns in the city. Only Justinian's few words of comfort were my sole solace. I used my hard-earned money to send him snacks and pay for expensive tutoring, but in the end, he looked down on me for not finishing high school, saying I wasn't good enough for a professor. Even though I had self-studied his university's graduate courses, he still said we had nothing in common. Is a diploma really that important? In this life, I'll prove it to everyone myself. Worried about the bad impression, Director Zhong quickly helped us up. Wang Yanan's grandmother, she's only 16. You can't force her to marry. It's illegal. Grandma stubbornly stayed on the ground, unfazed. Not marry. Then will the school cover her tuition? I won't pay. I will. The voice of Chinese teacher Mr., who came from the doorway. He entered. Director Zhong, Wang Yanan has great potential. She was top of her class in junior high, but she's been too burdened to study. I didn't know her family situation was like this. I hope the school can apply to waive part of her fees. I'll cover the rest. There's no precedent for this. Director Jong frowned. Teacher who glanced at Grandma. I plan to apply for the child to board at school. As long as she doesn't go home, she will definitely get into a top-tier university. In my previous life, teacher who had repeatedly tried to persuade me to stay, saying that my junior high teachers had mentioned I was a rare, highly intelligent child and that it would be a shame for me to drop out. But back then, I was foolish enough to believe Ju Senian's words. He said girls could only excel before junior high, and no matter how hard they tried in high school, they could never catch up with boys. Add to that the distraction of puppy love, my grades plummeted, and I fell into a vicious cycle. Teacher who, I can't let you take on this burden for me, I said seriously. This is my own life, and I must take responsibility for it. Director Jong, I begged the school to continue supporting me. If I get into Tsinghua University, all expenses will be waived, and I will even help the school with enrollment promotion. Is that acceptable? Director Jong, who had just taken a sip of water, spat it out. Tsinghua, you really dare to say that? Oh no. Tu High School considers it a miracle if even one student gets into a 211 university each year, let alone Tsinghua. I just didn't have time to study before, I explained guiltily. To be honest, I had barely studied throughout my entire freshman year of high school and had fallen so far behind that even I thought it was a pipe dream. Let's not talk about anything else. Next week is the final exam. Let's see your scores before you make such bold claims. Director Jong clearly didn't believe me. Teacher who also thought I was overestimating myself. Wang Yanan, you don't need to worry about tuition and fees. If you feel uncomfortable about it, you can repay me after you start working. I remained silent for a long time, knowing that only facts could prove everything. In my previous life, to keep up with Ju Sinian, I had audited advanced math classes with him. My foundation was solid. I had even quickly solved difficult problems posed by university professors. My intelligence wasn't the issue, and the English skills, especially spoken English, I had honed over years of work were an advantage. The biggest problem now was the tight timeline. But I had no way back. Director Jong, if I can rank in the top 10 in the final exam next week, will the school be willing to believe in me? Teacher who patted my shoulder and turned to plead on my behalf. Director Jong, I will tutor this child. Please give her a chance, since teacher who has spoken. It's settled. Director Jong relented. But if you don't make it, you really can't stay any longer. Deal, I said, ignoring Grandma, who was still throwing a tantrum on the floor. I snatched the burlap bag from her hands and dragged it back to the classroom. It was just after class, and the students were chattering and roughhousing. When they saw me enter, they all turned to look in unison. Following my memory, I made my way to my seat, where a tall, dark-skinned boy was sitting on my desk. Gang Shuang, my deskmate and the school bully who loved to pick on me. My drawer was stuffed with his gaming consoles, snacks, trading cards, and random books. Take your stuff away, I said, not bothering to argue with a brat like him. With grades like yours, is there even a point in studying? You won't even make it into a vocational college. So why bother? Gang Shuang sneered. Look at you dragging that plastic bag around. You're just trash yourself. Go pick up garbage where you belong. The other students joined in, laughing and jeering. Yeah, I always said she cheated on the high school entrance exam, bragging about being 10th in the county, acting all high and mighty, and now she's bottom 10, asterisk smack. Asterisk I slammed the plastic bag onto the desk and glared fiercely at the laughing crowd, stunned by my sudden outburst. So unlike my usual meek and timid self, they fell silent. I dumped everything from the drawer onto the floor, pulled over a chair, and sat down, pulling out my books as I spoke. Gang Shuang, you can buy your way into college, but I can't, so, you'd better not disturb my studies. I don't have time for your childish bullying games. Gang Shuang was taken aback, his face flushing bright red. His classmates didn't know about his family paying his way into high school. I'd only learned about it later in my previous life from Ju Sinian, his close friend. What are you talking about? He stammered, his bravado fading. Just then, our English teacher, Ms. Shun, entered the classroom, and the room finally quieted down. Ms. Shun was notoriously strict, nicknamed the Tyrant. Today, her low mood was obvious. Our class had scored worse than the neighboring class on the mock English exam again. You could score 80 on this test with your eyes closed, yet some of you only managed 40. She slammed the test papers onto the desk. If I scattered rice on the answer sheets and let a chicken peck at them, it would still do better than some of you. Now, let's have a dictation of the words assigned last night. One mistake, and you'll copy each word 100 times. Gang Shuang, spotting the glaring red 40 on my test paper, immediately raised his hand. Teacher, Wang Yanan says she can do the dictation. He shot me a grin. I smirked inwardly. It seemed I had been too lenient earlier. Ms. Shun, already displeased with my grades, snapped. Fine, Wang Yanan, you're up as the worst in the class. If you make a mistake, you'll copy each word 200 times. Teacher, Gang Shuang wants to do the dictation too, I said, smiling sweetly at him. Gang Shuang froze, clearly not expecting an immediate counterattack. We both walked up to the blackboard. At first, I deliberately hesitated, not writing anything. Gang Shuang's confidence soared. Can't do it, huh? You might as well go back and start copying 200 times now. To be honest, high school English vocabulary was a piece of cake for someone like me, who had already memorized words for the postgraduate entrance exam. Plus, I'd quickly realized that Ms. Shun was dictating the words from Unit 4, in order, and as luck would have it, I had tutored a child on these exact words just before the car accident. Gang Shuang. Want to bet I can wait until the teacher finishes the whole unit before I start writing? I deliberately raised my voice. What nonsense. If you can, I'll copy the words upside down. Gang Shuang retorted defiantly. No talking. Ms. Shun scolded us and continued with the dictation, distracted by my taunt. Gang Shuang missed several words and had to leave blanks. So, you'll really copy them upside down? I pressed. A real man never goes back on his word. Everyone here is a witness. Gang Shuang, can you handle it? Hurry up and write. I prodded. I'm waiting for the teacher to finish. Wang Yanan, Ms. Shun started to reprimand me but stopped when she saw me writing rapidly on the blackboard, my speed so fast that I soon outpaced her dictation. The students gasped in amazement. Gang Shuang grew impatient and grabbed my wrist, reaching into my pocket. Are you hiding something? Gang Shuang, stop it. Teacher Shun spoke up. I've been watching. She wrote it all from memory. Wang Yanan, I didn't expect you to memorize the entire unit's words in order. Well done. But next time, don't score 40 again. Teacher Shun said. Gang Shuang, you made 5 mistakes. After class, copy them 100 times in the office. I listened with unusual attentiveness that lesson. Just before the bell, Teacher Shun flicked a piece of chalk toward the window. Sitting by the window was Bai Rang, revered by classmates as the sleeping sage. Rumor had it that since entering the school, everyone had only ever seen the back of his head, yet the school dared not utter a word, afraid of shaking the foundation of the building sponsored by the Bai family. In my past life, Bai Rang and I had little interaction, except for one time after I dropped out and was working at a restaurant. When a customer gave me a hard time, he stepped in to help. But I slipped away, worried that Ju Sinian might get jealous. After class, I dragged my woven bag over to Bai Rang's side. I don't want to sit with Gang Shuang. Do you mind if I sit here? I asked, quickly pulling out my books and arranging them. You've already settled in before asking. Bai Rang's voice was like the low, muffled gurgle of a spring. Because I knew you wouldn't mind, I said playfully, lightly nudging his arm. His pale ears instantly flushed red. He pulled away, turning his face aside, his tone still cold. Just don't disturb my sleep. 2 girls in front turned and glared at me, whispering, oh my god. Bai Rang actually agreed. How dare she just sit there? If I'd known it was that easy, I would have done it. Yeah, go tell the teacher she's switching seats without permission. I cleared my throat. By the way, have you heard that teacher who is going to pay my tuition? Young girls are so easy to fool, with just one sentence. They assumed teacher who favored me and didn't dare say another word. Meanwhile, beside me, Bai Rang, buried in his arms, let out a low, muffled chuckle, his hair trembling slightly. barely noticeable if you weren't paying close attention. During lunch break, the classroom was noisy and chaotic. But I remained buried in my studies, that is, until Justinian walked in. He had been absent all morning, reportedly preparing for an English competition. There was only one spot available in the entire school. In my previous life, he took that opportunity, but in this life, I won't let him have it. He walked straight toward me, his face wearing its usual gentle expression. "Are you okay? I'll go to the cafeteria and get you some food." "So that's why you slipped away from the office door this morning." I stared at him steadily, my eyes filled with mockery. This was the time in my past life when he and I were secretly developing feelings for each other. He was an orphan, and I was practically one myself, finding warmth in each other during our youth. I remembered him vowing to get into a good university, to prove his worth to those who looked down on him. I remembered him crying, begging me for help because he couldn't afford to repeat a school year, and I remembered the coldness in his eyes when he used emotional neglect to force me into a divorce. "Oh, who are you bringing food to? With the two of you being so poor, you're trying to copy others and date." Chen Lingling walked into the classroom, her school bag slung over her shoulder, deliberately drawing out her words. The clique behind her burst into laughter. She was the class beauty, and with her good looks, she had formed a small group that loved to bully others. "Carrying a lunchbox means we're dating," I retorted casually while organizing the books in my woven plastic bag. "How do you know so much about it? Are you secretly dating someone yourself?" My words hit a nerve. No one knew it yet, but after graduation, it spread like wildfire in the class group chat. She had an online relationship in high school, sneaked out in the middle of the night to go online, met the person after the college entrance exams, got pregnant, and became a mother before even finishing university. "You're talking nonsense." Chen Lingling, feeling exposed, flew into a rage and rushed forward, ready to throw my books. I pushed her away and cast a cold glance at Justinian standing nearby. He had a strong sense of pride. In my past life, no matter the conflict, I was always the one who made a scene and took the lead. The way he looked at me now was exactly the same as back then. Cowardly and hesitant. I couldn't be bothered with him and focused on protecting my books, but Chen Lingling's friends rushed over as well. The woven bag was torn open, books scattered everywhere, and they stomped on them with their feet. "You can mess with me, but not my books." I couldn't hold back anymore. I kicked the desk and charged forward. After a chaotic scuffle, the five of us were dragged to the office by our homeroom teacher, Mr. Gao, who also taught math. Mr. Gao slammed the table and yelled angrily, "What are you all doing? Is it appropriate for girls to fight? And in an academic class? How shameful. If you don't want to study, just go home, especially you, Wang Yanan." He pointed at me. "You're the most shameless one. Your grades are terrible, your character is worse. Fighting, being late, skipping class. You've lost all your conduct points. It was them who stepped on my books first," I argued, but Mr. Gao didn't believe me. Chen Lingling had always been well-behaved and obedient in front of the teachers. After hesitating for a while, Chen Lingling timidly raised her hand and said, "Mr. Gao, I want to report. Wang Yanan is behaving improperly and seducing Justinian. When I found out and said I would tell the teacher, they attacked me." Justinian was a promising student being groomed for a top-tier university, and hearing this made Mr. Gao even angrier. He grabbed a book from the desk and threw it at me, but fortunately, Mr. who sat in front, stopped him in time. "Old Gao, you can't just throw around accusations like seducing. Why don't you ask the boy?" Justinian was quickly summoned, and Mr. Gao questioned him angrily. This hadn't happened in my previous life, but I had already anticipated his response. A refined egoist who would always protect himself. Wang asked me to help her get a meal, Justinian said, looking embarrassed, his face as pale as his school uniform. "Teacher, I really didn't mean anything by it." He grew more confident as he spoke. "Before, she also asked me for help with questions. That's how we, wait. What subject did I ask you about?" I interrupted him suddenly. Justinian stammered, "English." "What a joke," I sneered. "Someone who can smoothly converse with foreigners needs to ask you about English." I turned to Mr. Gao. His lying, First, he offered to bring me the meal himself. Second, I've never asked him about English. Even if my English isn't the best, I don't need his help. You, who scored 40 points, claim your English is better than Jusinian's, Mr. Gao shook the report card in his hand and threw it in my face, staring at the dark 40 on the paper. I fell silent. Fine, if you don't meet the English standard by the end of the semester, you won't stay in class 1, you'll go to a regular class. Mr. Gao issued his ultimatum. Okay. I replied indifferently and turned to go back to the classroom. Returning to my seat, I began planning my study schedule. Although I had studied advanced mathematics and was good at English, I had never practiced college entrance exam questions before, so I felt uncertain. On top of that, I had barely studied throughout my entire first year of high school, leaving me with a lot of catching up to do. It was inevitable that I felt a bit anxious, and I unconsciously started tapping my feet. Bai Rang, sitting next to me, frowned slightly and said, "Can you stop moving?" "Sorry," I replied shamelessly, seizing the opportunity. "Could I take a look at your review materials?" On his desk was a copy of *5 years of college entrance exams, 3 years of simulations *, looking as pristine as if it were meant to be sold to the next class. Without a word, Bai Rang pushed the book over to me. I flipped to the table of contents and saw that the English test papers were divided into versions A and B. The purple version was for the second round of senior year review, while the red one was for the first round. Both were modular reviews, covering multiple choice questions, reading comprehension, and task-based reading. Is this how you review, flipping through the book or actually reading it? Chen Lingling, who was sitting not far away, sneered. Others also noticed how quickly I was flipping through the pages and started laughing mockingly. Is this the legendary quantum reading method? Finishing a book in 25 seconds, more like 250 seconds, I remained unfazed and continued flipping through the book. English proficiency largely depends on vocabulary, and the postgraduate entrance exam vocabulary I had already memorized far surpassed what was required for the college entrance exam. Even if I hadn't practiced much, a little more practice would be enough. If Jusinian had said I needed help with math, I might have hesitated. College entrance exam math isn't something you can handle just by knowing advanced mathematics, but for English, I was completely confident. While lost in my thoughts, Bai Rang suddenly kicked the desk. With a loud bang, the classroom fell silent. "What's all the noise?" he asked coldly, his gaze sweeping over Chen Lingling and her friends. "Haven't you said enough?" Chen Lingling and the others looked like ducks whose necks had been wrung, their faces flushed with anger and embarrassment. Being mocked by the handsome guy they had a crush on was undeniably humiliating. Chen Lingling ran out in tears, likely to complain to her uncle, Teacher Gao. "Heh," I chuckled softly. "Do you think you can afford to provoke him? Do you really think Teacher Gao would side with her and make things difficult for you? What are you laughing at?" Bai Rang overheard me. "Do you think I'm bullying others with my influence?" His sharpness took me by surprise. "No, my tooth hurts," I said casually, then eagerly started tidying his desk for him. "Go ahead and sleep. I promise I won't say another word." My brief interaction with Bai Rang in my previous life had taught me that he wasn't as aloof and unapproachable as he seemed on the surface. As I organized his books, arranging his pens and textbooks according to my own habits, Bai Rang initially seemed like he wanted to stop me, but after a glance, he said nothing. "Our tidying habits are quite similar," he suddenly remarked, his tone carrying a hint of barely detectable probing. It sounded like a pickup line, and I paused for a moment. When I looked up, I saw his cheeks were flushed. "I didn't mean it that way," he quickly explained. "I know, I believe you," I said with a smile. Bai Rang didn't say anything more, but the redness at the tips of his ears deepened. At the time, I didn't realize how important the words "I believe you" were to him. As expected, Teacher Gao didn't intervene in the matter with Bai Rang. Chen Lingling ran back in tears, and amid her sobbing, I happily spent my first evening self-study session after being reborn. It was like listening to celestial music that clears the ears, and even reciting Song of the Peeper felt unusually smooth. But when school ended, my life became as tragic as the Peeper players. I hadn't yet applied for a dormitory at school, so I had no choice but to go home first. The 60 square meter apartment in the old town is the only asset my father left behind. The master bedroom is occupied by Wang Lianjie, the smaller room belongs to Grandma, and I live in a tiny partitioned space in the living room. At 10 p.m., the only sound in the house is Wang Lianjie playing video games, occasionally shouting double kill. I quickly finished my shower and was about to enter my small space when Wang Lianjie stepped out. His hair was like dried straw, yellow and brittle, and he was out of breath after just a few steps. His face was greasy, and he looked nothing like anyone in our family. His shifty eyes lingered where they shouldn't, and he stretched out a chubby hand. "Transfer me 500 yuan. I want to buy a skin." When he said the word skin, he swallowed hard and added, "Sis, your skin isn't bad either." I slapped his hand away and snapped, "Are you insane? I'm warning you, if you touch me again, I'll break your hand. Just because you decided not to drop out of school, you think you're something special." Wang Lianjie sneered. "Why are you hiding? We're not even related by blood." He forced his way into my space, trying to cover my mouth. "You bastard." I raised my hand to hit him, but he was all bark and no bite. I grabbed the nearby desk lamp and smashed it against the back of his head. With a loud thud, Wang Lianjie collapsed to the floor, struggling but unable to get up, his excess fat clearly holding him back. His cries of pain finally drew Grandma's attention. "Why did you hit your brother?" she demanded without asking for an explanation, immediately pinching me. I dodged while pulling out my phone to call the police. "Hello, 110. Someone is harassing me. I don't know him." At the word police, Grandma panicked. She reached for my phone but couldn't grab it. So she threw herself to the ground, wailing, "What did I do to deserve this? If you arrest your brother, how will I live? I won't even have the face to see your father when I die." Wang Lianjie also struggled to crawl over and snatch the phone, but I sidestepped and ran out, all the way downstairs, until the police arrived and accompanied me back up. As soon as we entered, we saw Wang Lianjie groaning on the floor as if severely injured. "Is this the person?" the officer asked me. "Yes." "I'm terrified of him. I really don't know him," I stammered, playing my part convincingly. "What do you mean you don't know him? He's your brother." Grandma rushed over with quick steps, tearfully explaining to the officer, "Officer, they're siblings. This is all a misunderstanding. I'm an only child. I've been studying at school, leaving early and returning late. I've never seen this person before," I said, tears streaming as I hid behind the officer. "What do you mean never seen him? Your brother has been here for 6 months. Grandma stamped her feet in frustration. Wang Lianjie had been sent over by his parents right after my father passed away. "Do you have legal adoption paperwork?" the officer asked. Grandma hemmed and hawed, unable to produce an answer. "Without notarization, such an adoption isn't legally recognized. But he's still family. He's just a child. What does he know?" Grandma continued to argue, though Wang Lianjie's chubby, grown-up appearance challenged the definition of child. I took out my phone and played a recording I had made earlier, clearly capturing Wang Lianjie's harassing remarks. Wang Lianjie immediately fell silent, and Grandma finally softened, whining pitifully. "But he's your brother. You can't let them take him. He's going to be a civil servant someday." I thought to myself, civil service requires a bachelor's degree. With Wang Lianjie's level of education, he didn't even finish vocational school. His dreaming, despite Grandma's tantrums, the police took Wang Lianjie away. Watching him being led off, Grandma finally realized I wouldn't budge. She viciously crumpled my clothes into a ball and snarled, "You're ruthless. Then don't live here. This is your brother's house. Get as far away as you can and drop dead. Don't you dare think you'll get a single cent of the Wang family's property." With a loud slam of the door, I was locked out, carrying a simple bundle of belongings. I left the home I had lived in for 16 years. With nowhere to go, I had no choice but to spend the night at a 24-hour KFC. In my previous life, after running away, I never went back. And Wang Lianjie smoothly inherited my grandmother's estate, but in this life, I don't intend to let that bastard have it so easy. This house is under my father's name, and by law, I should inherit at least half. However, with final exams just around the corner, I can only deal with the property matters after the exams. Sighing, I pulled out the study materials I borrowed from Bai Rang and, under the early morning light at 5 o'clock, began working on practice problems. At 6:30. For the first time without having to work a part-time job, I went straight to school for morning self-study. Not many people had arrived yet, and Ju Sinian was conspicuously among them, unlike Bai Rang. Ju Sinian relied on school subsidies to study. With no background or resources, he had no choice but to study relentlessly just to keep his opportunity to learn, up until he pursued his Ph.D. and refused to register our marriage. I had always admired his relentless drive. In my previous life, I waited for him for 9 years. It's been 4 years, then 9 years. You've made it to your Ph.D., and we're stable now. Let's get married, I proposed, my eyes full of hope. Nan. I need to think about this, he evaded vaguely, and that thinking lasted 3 years. It wasn't until I got pregnant and pressured him that we finally registered our marriage. But right after we married, I suffered a miscarriage due to overexertion, and he filed for divorce. You were the one who said you wanted to be with me forever. Why did you change? I questioned him hysterically. That Professor Ju, who could chat and laugh with the cafeteria ladies, subjected me to nothing but cold indifference. Everyone knew that Professor Ju had married a country bumpkin, a woman who smashed bowls, caused scenes, and forced the professor to divorce. I can pay back all the money I've spent over the years, as long as you agree to divorce. Ju Sinian's tone was as cold as ice. Why didn't you say that when you were repeating your senior year? Why not when you needed tuition for college, or when you signed up for grad school prep classes? My questions were filled with despair. Now that you've achieved success and fame, you just want to walk away scot-free. Am I supposed to end up with nothing? At 30, I stepped out filled with resentment, only to be hit by a car. Those memories are too painful to revisit. Now, seeing Ju Sinian again, I feel nothing but disgust, enough to kill my appetite even without breakfast. Yet, Ju Sinian slowly walked toward me. About what happened yesterday, I'll help explain it to teacher Gao. He glanced at the book in my hand. That's Bai Rang's book, right? Don't get too close to him. We're not the same kind of people as him. What do you mean, not the same kind of people? Are you saying poor people are inherently noble? I hit right where it hurt. You were spouting nonsense in the office yesterday. And I haven't even settled that with you yet. I had no choice. Ju Sinian paled, his defense weak. Harming others to benefit yourself is your motto. You and I are simply not on the same path, I said coldly. Ju Sinian wanted to say more, but people started trickling into the classroom. This is my seat. Bai Rang arrived quite early, his tone flat, yet it made Ju Sinian flee instantly. His retreating figure looked as if he had suffered immense humiliation. After Bai Rang sat down, I pushed the exercises I had finished last night toward him. Thank you. He lay his head on the desk, ready to sleep, and suddenly asked, thank him. I knew he was referring to Ju Sinian, but I didn't respond. The final review week passed by quickly, mostly spent on self-study to fill in the gaps, with an immense mental toll. Many students' desks were stuffed with snacks, rivaling a small convenience store, but mine was empty. I only had 200 yuan to my name, which I was saving to consult a lawyer about inheritance law. That week, I could only afford 1 meal a day, relying solely on willpower to keep going. Asterisk gurgle. Asterisk my stomach betrayed me with a loud rumble. Bai Rang, looking groggy with a stubborn strand of hair sticking up on his forehead, rummaged through his backpack and pulled out a bread roll, handing it to me impatiently. Here, I bought this myself. The ones in my desk were all gifts from others. So giving this to you isn't disrespectful to them. He seemed more talkative than usual today. No wonder so many people have a crush on you, I remarked sincerely, taking a bite of the bread. If you don't know how to talk, then don't, he retorted, already burying his head again, though the tips of his ears turned red. Asterisk how can this kid be so adorable? Asterisk a thought crossed my mind. How about I tutor you in math? I was pretty good at it in middle school, believe it or not. Bai Rang silently flipped open both of our math test papers, his glaringly red 25 next to my glaringly red 66. You sure about tutoring me in math? He shot me a disdainful look and went back to sleep. Relying on Bai Rang's bread every day, I finally made it to the final exams. As soon as I entered the exam hall, I met Teacher Gao's death glare. Seating was arranged by academic performance, and as the lowest-ranked student in the class, I was assigned to the general class exam room. A girl with a bob haircut poked me and whispered, "Want to help each other out later? Some people better not cheat recklessly. I'll be watching you closely." Teacher Gao's eyes locked onto me. His tone stern. I silently raised my hand. "Teacher, I'd like to take the exam next to you. The lighting here isn't good. *1 trick works everywhere. I doubt anyone can frame me if I'm sitting right next to the teacher's desk. *. After successfully moving to the front, I received the Chinese exam paper. Chinese heavily relies on foundational knowledge, so even though I hadn't studied much that week, I could still secure the basic points, after carefully answering all the questions. I looked up to see Teacher Gao ignoring the other students and staring only at me. I'd seen this kind of disdainful look plenty of times from Zhu Xinyan's colleagues and classmates. I was long immune to it. I thought the proctors would rotate, but to my surprise, Teacher Gao was still there for the math exam. Was he deliberately targeting me? He outright sat right in front of me, watching me as I worked on the paper. "Teacher, you're blocking my light," I said obediently. Catching a glimpse of Principal Zhong patrolling outside, "Lao Gao, it's the mock exams. Don't disturb the students," Principal Zhong scolded quietly. Hair. Now I can focus even better. Teacher Gao shot me a glare and reluctantly moved elsewhere. Thud. A paper ball landed on my desk. I looked up just in time to meet Teacher Gao's furious glare. "Aha, I knew you'd cheat." "I didn't," I calmly defended myself. "Do you think the surveillance cameras aren't on? I'll deal with you after the exam." Teacher Gao snatched my test paper. "Who threw the answers? Step forward now." The classroom fell silent, and his anger grew. Soon, all 3 grade-level directors arrived, after collecting the papers. We were ordered to stay in the exam hall while they reviewed the surveillance footage. It didn't take long to identify the culprit, the girl with the bob haircut. Her round face was full of fear, and she kept glancing at me, as if she wanted to brand me as her accomplice. I sighed and raised my hand. "Teacher." "She asked me to pass her the answers." "That's a lie." The bob-haired girl suddenly raised her voice. "You were the one who asked me for answers. We planned it before the exam." Teacher Gao immediately chimed in. "Wang Yanan, I never expected you to cheat. You're the first culture class student to ever cheat." The bob-haired girl burst into tears. "Teacher, I admit it, I made a mistake. Please don't blame me. Who told you to frame me?" I stared at her coldly. "I don't even know who you are. The surveillance footage and the paper ball are both evidence. Are you still trying to deny it? Poor in studies, poor in character." Teacher Gao's face flushed with certainty, as if confirming his own judgment. "I have evidence too." I flipped open the confiscated test paper and pointed to the last problem about the moving point P. "I don't believe she could have written this either." Director Zhong leaned in to look. My test paper was filled with answers for the final difficult problem, while many basic questions earlier were left blank. As for the paper ball, it only contained simple fill-in-the-blank and multiple-choice answers. Since you could solve the last problem, why would you need her answers? Director Zhong spotted the inconsistency. Teacher Gao accused me of cheating and took my test paper before I could finish the earlier questions. I said confidently. The truth was, I had only reviewed the moving point problems and hadn't studied the other question types at all. It was only after Bai Rang casually gave me a hint that I figured out this problem. "I can write it out for you right now." I picked up a marker, walked to the blackboard, and started writing furiously while explaining each step. The girl with the bob haircut was completely stunned. "Now, care to explain why you framed me?" I put down the marker and looked at her. Not long after the bob-haired girl was taken away, Chen Lingling and Bai Rang were also called out. Fortunately, Bai Rang returned quickly. "Sorry for dragging you into this," I said apologetically. Bai Rang shook his head. And only then did I learn the truth. The bob-haired girl had a crush on Bai Rang, and Chen Lingling had stirred up trouble, making her mistakenly believe that I was shamelessly pursuing Bai Rang, which led to the cheating frame-up. "If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have failed math." Bai Rang looked at me, his eyes slightly red. "A handsome guy crying is a beautiful sight. But his logic was flawed. That's victim blaming. If a tree falls in a storm, do you blame the tree? I whispered to comfort him. Do you believe this has nothing to do with me? Even if you ask 100 times, the answer is the same. I believe you. Rank's voice was low and firm. Those words instantly brought back memories. In my previous life, when I was harassed by a customer at a restaurant, Rang had stepped in to defend me, saying, I believe this waitress. She didn't mean it. His deep, magnetic voice seemed to echo in my ears. And I couldn't help but blush. He's still just a kid now. What am I thinking? It must be because he's too handsome. Luckily, no one noticed our blushes. Everyone was gathered around Gang Shuang, listening to him vividly recount how teacher Gao had been reprimanded by the principal. The principal had reviewed the surveillance footage and concluded that teacher Gao had been fixated on me for too long, was lax in proctoring, and lacked competence, giving him a severe scolding. With this good news, the English exam arrived as scheduled. I casually reported Gang Shuang for trying to bring his phone into the exam room, a small return favor. Just as I was about to enter the exam room, Ju Sinian suddenly stopped me. I'll put in a good word for you. He left without giving me a chance to express my thoughts. Put in a good word. So quick to assume I'm incompetent, fueled by irritation, I wrote furiously during the English exam, this time, without teacher Gao's harassment. The exam went smoothly. The physics, chemistry, and biology exams also went without a hitch. All that was left was to wait for the results. I packed up my desk, planning to catch up on 6 basic subjects over the summer. Are you still sleeping at KFC during the summer? Rang rarely initiated conversation, a hint of concern in his tone. It's hot. But it's fine, I evaded, though I had already planned to hire a lawyer to handle the property matter. How about I hire you as a tutor? 200 per session. Rang hesitated for a long time before saying this. About the cheating incident, it really had nothing to do with you. Don't take it to heart, really. I excitedly grabbed his hand. But I'm actually a pretty good tutor. Rang's gaze fell on my previous math test paper. I slapped my hand over it. The 25 was just a fluke. All right. Rang nodded and left me a phone number. Awkward. I didn't have a cell phone. I had to go empty-handed and seek help from teacher Hu, asking if there was any legal aid available. Lawyer Shu, this student of mine is a minor, so I'd appreciate your assistance. Teacher Hu treated my matter as his own, bustling around to help. Teacher, once I get into Tsinghua, I'll make sure you get an interview, I said gratefully. Teacher Hu chuckled. I watched you get specially admitted after the high school entrance exam. High school courses are different from middle school. I don't care which school you get into, as long as you've put in the effort. He thought I was joking until the next day, when the final exam results were announced. English, 142 points, top 10 in the grade. Early in the morning, Director Zhong rushed to the second-year teacher's office and excitedly announced the news. Our class has a high score in English, 142 points. Everyone gathered around. Teacher Shen pretended to be modest. Oh, Ju Sinian is just a bit unbalanced. He's always been good at English. She saw Ju Sinian enter and gave him a firm pat on the shoulder. Well done, 142 points. Even no, one high school rarely sees scores like that. Ju Sinian was also somewhat incredulous. Given the high difficulty of this exam, maybe the grading was lenient. I didn't do that well. If it wasn't you, then who else in our class is that good at English? Teacher Shen, without checking the rankings, immediately assumed it was him. Teacher Hu and I happened to arrive at the office door just then. Hearing this, Teacher Hu smiled and said, Teacher Shen, the one with 142 points is Wang Yanan. What? Teacher Shen was stunned and quickly picked up the score sheet to take a closer look. Chinese, 99, Math, 40, English, 142, Physics, 40, Chemistry, 29, Biology, 30. Congratulations, Wang Yanan. You did very well in English. Teacher Hu broke the awkwardness and proactively announced my scores. As for math, everyone knows Teacher Gao held you back. Teacher Hu added, if you'd had enough time, passing the math exam would have been a sure thing. Teacher Gao's face turned pale and then flushed. That's impossible. She must have cheated. Old Gao, This was an original exam prepared by the teaching department. There are no answers online, another teacher, unable to stand by, quietly reminded him. The office was in an uproar. Justinian stood there as if he had suffered a great blow. The English top spot, which he had always dominated, was now taken from him, leaving him in second place. Teacher Gao, do you understand now? I looked at him, my voice trembling with years of suppressed anger. I never asked Justinian for help with English, and I certainly never tried to seduce him. I despise him. Every second I see him makes me sick. The thought of the emotional neglect in my past life, 10 years of effort, and the pain of miscarriage made my voice quiver uncontrollably. You never investigated this properly. Wang Yanan, don't worry, I'll have Teacher Gao apologize to you, Director Zhong said. As if recalling my outstanding performance when I first enrolled. I don't need anyone's apology, I just want to transfer to another class, I said firmly. Justinian walked out of the office, looking devastated. In this life, I will shatter his pride step by step, turning him from the small-town problem-solving prodigy into the small-town mistake collector. I took the initiative to approach Teacher Shen. Teacher, thank you for your guidance these past few months. I'd like to participate in the English competition. May I? Having a top student in her subject was a good thing for Teacher Shen, though she seemed a bit conflicted. Of course, I could tell your level all along, but there's only one spot. And you and Justinian are classmates. One exam doesn't prove anything. Justinian has been first every year. He's consistently strong. Teacher Gao, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, brought Justinian over to intervene. The competition spot must go to Justinian. How about this? Let's gather other English teachers and have a live competition. Whoever wins gets the spot. Director Zhong stepped forward to propose. Knowing how important the English competition bonus points were for the school, feeling his own interests threatened, Justinian's face was filled with pain and regret. Apart from that one time, when have I ever offended you? Why are you treating me like this? The English competition offers bonus points. It's all for the school's benefit, I responded with a righteous tone. If you're afraid of losing, you can still back out now. You'll only end up in complete defeat. Justinian snapped back harshly. Students from Class 1 gathered to watch, tossing out sarcastic remarks, scoring first place just once and already acting so arrogant. What a joke, with such poor grades before, how dare you challenge the top student in the grade? You must have cheated. This is a TOEFL speaking test. Take a look and be ready to answer orally. Teacher Shen presented the test. The TOEFL vocabulary far exceeded high school level but didn't emphasize grammar, making it practically tailor-made for me. In my previous life, while working at a high-end restaurant to earn extra money, I had memorized a lot of TOEFL vocabulary. Though I never finished, Justinian went on stage first to answer. The TOEFL difficulty was high for high school students, but he managed fairly well across the 5 sections: listening, speaking, reading, writing, and the English teachers nodded in approval. Hurry up and get off the stage, don't embarrass yourself. Chen Lingling led the booing, and her clique joined in. Dressed so shabbily and still joining a competition, you might as well compete in begging. Ignoring their taunts, I raised my hand and stepped onto the stage. Fluent English, advanced vocabulary, and authentic slang. I wielded them all with mastery. Skills honed through my part-time work. Seeing the approving smiles on the English teachers' faces, I knew I had this round in the bag. Justinian, in this life, I'm going to clip your wings. You want to go to college? Not a chance. In the end, I won the competition spot and successfully transferred to Teacher Hu's class. The only regret was that I could no longer be desk mates with Bai Rang. I'd have to do my best to help him improve his math over the summer break. Wang, the court has accepted your case. With clear property rights and established identity, the verdict will be announced soon. Lawyer Shu brought me good news. As for that house, please help me sell it. I don't want to go back there at all, I said. Just after hanging up, I saw my grandmother, Wang Lianjie, and 2 unfamiliar middle-aged men and women. Wang Lianjie had been released after a few days of education for being a minor and attempted assault. You wretched girl. Drop the lawsuit. The house should go to the boy. What does a girl like you need a house for? My grandmother started cursing as usual. If you have anything to say it in court. I packed my books, wanting to leave quickly. Wang Lianjie grabbed my backpack strap. I stared coldly at him, and the flesh on his face trembled as he let go. If I see you again, I'll beat you up every time, I threatened. The middle-aged couple approached and blocked my way. You're Wang Yanan, right? We're your grandmother's relatives, here to mediate, the plump woman said familiarly. Focus on your studies. When you get married, your brother will carry you to the car. We'll be your family. Their schemes were so obvious, as if I should be grateful. Just because my grandmother didn't sell me for a bride price and let me go to school, my heart ached. There's no room for discussion. Let's pretend we don't know each other from now on. The plump woman reached out to grab me, but I dodged and shouted, "Kidnappers! Someone's trying to rob me." The mall was crowded, and security quickly arrived. No matter how they tried to explain, all four were thrown out, before they were ejected. I looked at the plump woman and said, "Don't come looking for me again, or I'll make sure your son has no descendants. See if I can do it. Back off now, and you can still have my grandmother's house." A few days later, Lawyer Shu told me the house had been settled. The plump woman bought it at half the market price. My grandmother and I each got 300,000 yuan. As for how the plump woman would take care of my grandmother in the future, that was no longer my concern. Later, I heard the garage downstairs had been converted into a small room, probably for my grandmother to live in. After getting the money, I first bought a phone and sent Bai Rang a message to apologize. "Sorry, I didn't have a phone before, something came up suddenly, and I missed our first tutoring session without telling you. I was worried about you that day and asked the shop for the surveillance footage." Bai Rang replied quickly, adding, "Besides your grandmother, who were the others? You can tell me. Didn't you say you trusted me?" Faced with his concerned tone on the screen, I gave in and told him the whole story. "Do you want me to help you?" Bai Rang's message carried obvious anger, completely different from his usual feigned indifference. I couldn't help but laugh and replied, "No need. I can handle it myself. But, do you want to teach Wang Lianjie a lesson together?" It was just an offhand remark, but Bai Rang took it seriously. That day, in a narrow alley, we cornered Wang Lianjie. "Let me go, stop hitting me," he screamed in pain, hearing footsteps in the distance. Bai Rang grabbed my hand, and we ran quickly. "Haha, that felt great, thank you." I leaned against the wall, panting and exhausted. Bai Rang's eyes were bright, and his usual calm had returned. "After the college entrance exam, when we're in university, I'll wait for you to explain that misunderstanding." "Why do you still remember that?" I said, feeling awkward. After settling on the tutoring schedule and frequency, I rented a small apartment and filled my daily study schedule to the brim. Effort determines the lower limit. Talent determines the upper limit. Getting into Tsinghua University isn't something you can achieve just by talking. I slept only 4 hours a day. Studying obsessively. In this life, I won't allow any regrets. The summer vacation quickly came to an end. After school started, I prepared a farewell gift for Bai Rang. "We won't be desk mates next semester, so this is for you." Bai Rang looked up and tapped the test papers on the desk. "I didn't prepare a farewell gift, but if you can get into a top-tier university, that would be the best gift for me." I smiled like a doting mother, my tone sounding old-fashioned. Bai Rang reached out and ruffled my hair. The next day, I saw Bai Rang again in Mr. whose class. "My dad donated another building to the school, might as well make use of the privilege," he said, unfolding a math test. "These 2 questions are really difficult. I paid a lot for them. Want to give them a try?" Instantly captivated by the challenge, I said, "Let me try." Mathematics is a subject that respects time. The more effort you put in, the more you get out of it. Freed from Mr. Gao's targeted criticism, Bai Rang and I settled into studying peacefully in Mr. whose class, although it was an ordinary class with moderately difficult questions. Mr. who didn't require us to listen to his lectures. Instead, he let us study on our own and offered extra tutoring during evening self-study sessions, a model that suited me perfectly. I watched as my grades steadily improved, inching closer and closer to Ju Xinyan's ranking. Bai Rang's performance was also steadily rising, 310th, 155th, 33rd. After the final exams of the first semester of senior year, Shi Lianlian read out my rankings from these 3 exams, her face full of amazement. Even a rocket couldn't climb this fast. She sat in front of me, turned around, and said, "What did I do to deserve sitting in front of a top student like you? Ha, it's just 33rd. Still far from Lingling." Chen Lingling's follower, Zhu Rui, chimed in with a sarcastic tone, "Still better than some people who can't even make it to 33rd. Shi Lianlian retorted without holding back. She had an uncle who was a lawyer, so she was particularly sharp-tongued. "No matter what, you're still better than those who boast about getting into Tsinghua," Zhu Rui shot back defiantly. "Even if I don't get into Tsinghua, I'm still better than you," I said, looking directly at Chen Lingling. "Chen Lingling, want to compete? In the next exam, whoever ranks lower has to go to the school gate and shout 3 times, 'I'm the loser, do you dare?'" Chen Lingling, who had performed well this semester, was provoked and immediately flared up. "Who's afraid of you? It's a bet." I pulled Shi Lianlian into the classroom. Bai Rang was still catching up on sleep. He had improved a lot compared to his first and second years, at least staying awake during classes now. Stirred up by Zhu Rui, Shi Lianlian stopped gossiping and immediately started working on problems as soon as she returned to her seat. This time, "You'll definitely surpass Zhu Xinian," Bai Rang said. Having woken up at some point, he was the one who knew best how hard I had worked. To cover 2 years of curriculum in 1 semester, I had pushed my time management to the extreme, even timing my water breaks and bathroom visits. If I had been somewhat careless during the high school entrance exam, for the college entrance exam, I would not allow failure. The mock exams will be very difficult. I want to crush Zhu Xinian in one go. As for Chen Lingling, she's just collateral damage, I said, waving my fist. But Bai Rang grabbed it. "It's okay to study for revenge, but don't forget, you're doing this mostly for yourself," Bai Rang said, his voice unusually gentle. "A good university will give you more choices and help you stay far away from those who cause you pain. Consider this a free piece of advice. Keep fighting, girl." The final exam results were announced quickly. I was ranked first in the grade, and I had surpassed the second-place student by more than 30 points. How could the top student in the grade be in an ordinary class? Teacher Gao rushed into the office, snatched the results sheet in disbelief, and froze when he saw the name, Wang Yanan. The other teachers, already accustomed to my rocket speed, weren't surprised at all. "There's still 1 semester left, 130 days. Teacher Hu, we might actually produce a Tsinghua University candidate," one teacher joked. After all, she was specially admitted for the high school entrance exam. Look at these results. Since she joined Teacher Hu's class, her attitude toward studying has completely changed. "Congratulations, Teacher Hu." Hearing the congratulations that should have been his, Teacher Gao's face twisted with resentment. Unwilling to accept it, he went to find Zhu Xinian. "She used to be so far behind you, and both of you were specially admitted. There's no reason she could score so high while you can't." Under Teacher Gao's expectant gaze, Zhu Xinian felt an overwhelming weight. As if he were about to collapse, I walked past them without even glancing their way. In truth, after hearing Bai Rang's words, I had already decided to give up on revenge. Having been given a second chance at life, I didn't want to let hatred blind me. I just wanted to stay away from all of this and pour all my energy into getting into university. Tsinghua University was indeed a distant dream, but the higher the goal, the more it fueled my determination. I didn't want to have any regrets. Shi Lianlian dragged me to class 1. "Chen Lingling, you haven't forgotten what you said, have you?" Chen Lingling's face turned bright red, and she stammered, I just knew you cheated on the exam. You have no integrity." Defeated opponent, I threw back the exact words Teacher Gao had once used to criticize me. Bai Rang was right, but sometimes, a sharp retort really does wonders for the soul. Starting over was about staying away from the mud, not getting tangled up with rotten people. During the second semester of senior year, 2 things spread through the school. "Nan, congratulations. In this 3rd mock exam, you scored 3 points higher than the top student from No. 1 high school." Shi Lianlian's gossip was always the most up-to-date. "And, did you know, Zhu Xinian has gone crazy with studying? but his scores keep getting worse. He's almost fallen out of the top 100. Ju Senian's ability to handle pressure was indeed lacking. In his previous life, his success was driven purely by sheer determination, but in this life, that determination had turned into self-destructive obsession. Alright, there are only 20 days left until the college entrance exam. Stop gossiping. I stopped her and stopped paying attention to news about Ju Sinian. Bai Rang, Shi Lianlian, where are your test papers? Hurry up and take them out. Let me, your dad, help you correct them. Shi Lianlian protested with exaggerated cries, while Bai Rang remained as calm as ever, on the day of the college entrance exam. As I put down my pen after finishing the biology paper, I experienced the meaning of fulfillment for the first time. Relying on others would never be dependable, only I could control my own destiny. After the exam, I treated Bai Rang to a meal. This is a farewell gift. It cost me a huge chunk of my tutoring earnings, I said, handing him a brand new gaming console. I had bought it especially for him. Bai Rang accepted the gift and looked up at me. Now, can you explain that misunderstanding? He actually still remembered. After my parents divorced, I became a child without a home. Bai Rang's voice was low. No matter whether I was with my dad or my mom, whenever anything went wrong, I was always the one to blame. No one believed in me. You were the first person to say, I believe you. His skin was pale. His cheeks flushed slightly, and his eyes were intense and sincere. I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? Having been hurt too deeply in my previous life, I was truly afraid. Looking into his earnest eyes, I fled in a panic. I'm sorry. I don't like long-distance relationships. After saying that, I practically ran away, my heart aching with bitterness. If I had known, I should have just given him a basketball. What a waste of money. As a broke person, I threw myself into my part-time job, tears streaming down my face. Bumper harvest. Our school's student Wang Yanan achieved outstanding results in the college entrance examination. Bravely securing the top spot in the provincial science stream, the school's official account took an unconventional approach, using the metaphor the large mango weighs 697 grams, ranking first in the province to announce the good news, circumventing the policy restrictions on promoting top scorers. Yet, no, Tu High School went wild with joy, setting off fireworks for 3 consecutive days, almost wanting the whole world to know, as the large mango herself. I received the highest level of reception from the school. What about Bai Rang? How did he do? After finally dealing with all the congratulations, I quickly asked Shi Lianlian. He went abroad. Shi Lianlian, who had performed well herself, was even more eager to gossip. Ju Sinian only got into a second-tier college and I heard he's planning to retake the exam. I didn't ask further about Ju Sinian, but I was somewhat concerned about Bai Rang. Teacher who said to keep Bai Rang's results confidential, so it seemed he had done well too. I sent Bai Rang a WeChat message, attaching a photo of Tsinghua University's opening ceremony. Come back soon, school has started, and Dad will take you to see the world and check out Tsinghua's auditorium, soon. Bai Rang replied, we can meet directly at the auditorium. Without me, you might not find your way. I found it a bit strange until the day of the opening ceremony. When I saw Bai Rang standing at the entrance of the auditorium, wearing a Tsinghua school uniform and holding a student ID card. How did you get in? I asked in surprise. Maybe my dad donated another building to Tsinghua, he said with a laugh, his tone teasing. Before I could react, he gently hugged me. His voice soft yet firm. A reunion gift for you, Nan Nan. We're on the same campus now, so it doesn't count as a long-distance relationship anymore, right? Sunlight streamed through the auditorium's glass windows, bathing us in warmth and brightness. In this lifetime, I not only got into Tsinghua University, leaving my muddy past behind, but I also met someone who believes in me and waits for me. The future is promising, and everything is just right. That's the end of today's story. If you've listened this far, please leave happy every day in the comments section. Wishing everyone happiness every day.